Hey, Browns fans, time now for our exclusive player interview live from the Greenbrier, and as always, presented by Cross Country Mortgage. And today, we talk to the perennial Pro Bowler, the perennial All-Pro Browns left guard, Joel Bitonio. Joel, how are you doing, man? What's this experience been like here at the Greenbrier for a veteran like you?
It's definitely different. This is my first time traveling out
Sure.
in 10 years now, but it's been good. We've had a little bit extra time with Joe going to the Hall of Fame, so the ramp-up's been nice. They've, really got us accustomed to the pads, getting used to it. Today was kind of our first day going full speed with the shoulder pads on and running around a little bit, but it's been really good. I think the team is learning about each other, hanging out with each other a lot more than when you're at a place that you know.
What do you like about this football team? Because obviously you've seen a lot in the course of those 10 years.
Yeah, I like the people. We have a good group of people, and they're good football players too, but I think everybody around here really gets along right now, and we're pushing each other to be better. And that's special. We have a lot of guys that have come in last year or two that have some experience, that have won in this league, and they're really trying to, pass it on to the younger guys. But the people here are not afraid to work, and I think we've laid out as a group that our expectations are, hey, we come every day to work and to get better, and if we can play to our best of our ability, we'll see what happens at the end of the year.
Yeah, we're going to be a team that can beat anybody and can accomplish everything they want to. What do you notice from Deshaun Watson in the huddle this year? We've noticed a guy who seems much more comfortable, seems much more calm and totally in command. Looks like the old Deshaun Watson. What are you seeing in that huddle?
Yeah, I agree. I came in spring for a few days, and he just felt so much more comfortable. I think he put on a show in those 7-on-7s, and it's really translated over. He has command. I think he knows what he's saying in the huddle. He knows the play calls better. He's really getting an understanding. I think the offense is tweaking a little bit, with some surprises. But, no, he's definitely more comfortable, and I think he's trying to come out of his shell as a leader as well. We have a lot of guys that lead by example here, that do the right thing on the field and stuff. And I think some of the guys are like, hey, I've played for a while now. Guys are looking up to me. I can speak out a little bit. And so I think he's trying to grow like that as a player as well.
And Joel, talk about that intangible of when the quarterback's in the huddle and you can sense and feel the confidence and how important that is to a football team, especially an offensive unit.
Yeah, I think the quarterback's probably the most important position in sports, really. And so when you have confidence in that guy and he understands what he's doing, you feel like any play we call is a good play, and sometimes in the past it's been like, all right, we got to get a little lucky on this one, but with Deshaun back there, Nick, Amari, David, Elijah, all those guys, you feel like we can have a big play pretty much anything we call.
Have there been some of the throws this camp where you're like, whoa?
Yeah, we haven't had too many team periods, a lot of 7-on-7,
Yeah, right.
But I've seen a few and saw a few highlights on the old Instagram, where guys have made some pretty big plays.
All right, you mentioned coming out to work to get better. Well, opposite you now, Dalvin Tomlinson is in the mix. Maurice Hurst is here, drafted Siaki Ika, Zadarius Smith, and we certainly saw and I think felt him a little bit out there on the field there today. What's it like getting to work against those guys? And I know it's kind of limited, but today, first day in pads, to feel the power of a Dalvin Tomlinson.
Yeah, it's been nice. We've definitely tried to rework that defensive line room, and those guys have a lot of experience. I remember, obviously, Dalvin I've played against a few times now. Zadarius was in our, for 4 years in Baltimore, and he lined up everywhere. And those guys are just professional guys that know how to win, that play the game the right way. You got a guy like Mo Hurst, who I remember we played him probably 4 years ago when he was a really young guy, and I was like, this guy has some ability to rush the passer. I remember we watched him, and I was like, this guy can move. He's had some injuries the last couple of years,
Sure.
But there's some good players. Jordan Elliott, I feel like, is still ascending as a player. It takes a while as a lineman to learn, and I feel like he's getting better and working hard every day to try to be in that rotation too. So it's a good group, and obviously it's led by Miles, and I think he's trying to take his leadership and his ability to a new level as well. And I think they all kind of feed off each other.
And Joel, speaking of groups, the offensive line is considered one of the best in the league. Is there pressure that comes with that? And if so, how do you guys go about embracing that?
Yeah, we talk about it. We want to be the best line in the league, and I don't know if we have the last couple of years up to our standard. We have a very high standard. So there is expectations that come with that, and Coach Callahan, puts that out there. We put it out on ourselves, and we want to be the best, and we talk about it, and we understand that it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of dedication, and the guys are about that though. So it's fun to work with those guys because we have, really 10, 15 guys that want to be part of that. But it's so nice having the same offense for the fourth year. And I know Poe came last year, but I'm going to my fourth year with Jed, and Jack and Wyatt are playing together for their fourth year. So it's been really nice to have a unit that's got some experience now.
And have that continuity. And listen, you said the high standard. Well, nobody had a higher standard than our good friend Joe Thomas, who will be going into the Professional Hall of Fame. This in just over a week from today, he'll be inducted. Probably at this time, in fact, the ceremony will be going. How cool is that for you to know that you lined up next to one of the all-time greats, and obviously, hopefully, your career following his footsteps there to cantoning that gold jacket. But what was it like playing with the Hoff? And maybe if you got a good story for us about him, go ahead and share.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Joe and his family. It seems like it's been, no doubter to me, but you never know when it's going to happen. So we're very happy for him. I've done probably more interviews the last 3 months. Dan Murphy's been calling me every day to be like, hey, you got an interview request for Joe. So I've talked a lot about Joe in the last couple months, but no, it's so good for him. I'm excited. Coach Stefanski let me go down and watch the ceremony and celebrate a little bit with him. So we're pumped for him. I think I told Jake Trotter this story the other day, but he always had the baggiest pants, and I was always like, why do you wear these pants? What is going on? And he's like, have you ever seen a ninja? And I was like, yeah, I've seen a ninja. He's like, they're always in baggy clothes. It lets you move better. It lets you do this. And I don't know if that's a true reason, but it was a dang good excuse, and it sold me. So I was like, all right. I still don't wear baggy pants because they just look terrible.
I used to notice that on the sidelines. I was like, what is he doing? There's no, his butt's hanging down to his knees.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but he had a good story for it,
And you spray the inside of your cleats because of the Joe Thomas?
Yes, I do that. You get a little extra traction. He actually got that from Josh Gordon, I believe.
Okay.
Because Josh Gordon's probably one of the freakiest athletes I've seen on the football field. So Joe's like, if he does it, I might as well do it. And then I saw Joe do it, and I noticed sometimes your socks slip. It gets a little wet out here. And I still do that to this day.
It's awesome. It's awesome. When you think about Joe and play next to him, what he brought, and then what you've been able to bring, following in many ways in his footsteps, you're always there for your teammates. How much pride do you take in that and what you've been able to accomplish kind of with that as your role model, following right there?
I think him and Alex and Mitch and those guys, John Greco, showed me that, everybody in the league has a talent to be a good lineman for a play or for a game, but it's truly the consistency of offensive line play that makes you a great player. And he was so consistently good, and I just wanted to try and do that for my teammates and be there for my guys as well. And it was such a high standard that, we joke about it, but the standard is a standard, and that's what you have to live up to, and that's what you try and live up to. And obviously no one's going to be Joe, but we try and work for that.
Now, Joe, in these type of settings, as well as in the locker room, my experience has been that offensive linemen can do some pretty disgusting things. With that being said, are you guys keeping it down, or are you guys doing typically what offensive linemen do in a locker room setting?
I'm going to say we're a lot better than most offensive linemen. We have
sophisticated.
We're a vet. I mean, some days in camp I'm showering 3 times a day because you work out, you walk through, you practice, so we don't take it to that extreme, But if you go back to college and high school, I mean, the linemen were gross. They didn't wash their pants. I always have washed my clothes, but some of those things you see where it's you haven't washed your pants in 6 weeks. What is going on right now? But no, Brad and the equipment staff, they take care of us here. So most of the guys, I don't want to call anybody out. I would say 90% of our guys are on the up and up.
Well, some investigating to do to find that 10% apparently. One of the cool things I read in that article with Jake that you were talking about, what gave your story there about the Ninja Pants, was that Joe would hate getting a minus and would argue as though he were a lawyer for what he felt was right, that the minus was unjust. He was never in there with Bill Callahan, and I'd imagine Bill Callahan probably drives a pretty hard bargain on the other side. Would those have been some fun intellectual battles to have watched unfold there in a grading session?
Yes. A few times I'm like, I think Greco was the one telling the story, but a few times I'm like, all right, Joe, we get it. You graded out at 97. Sorry. You know what I mean? He, but it was sometimes it was the littlest things that I'm like, all right, Joe, we know you didn't mess it up. Or and he'd pull back well, in training camp of last year, you told me if I got this look to do this. And the coach would be like, well, let me see that, But Bill's a little bit more secretive. So Bill would probably give him yeah, you're right, Joe. And then keep the grade the same, Bill would fight his battle maybe behind enemy lines.
And you mentioned it earlier, Joel, but just want to reiterate it. How important it was for you in your career to see greatness personified on a regular basis, and what it did for you in your maturation?
Yeah, it was I was truly lucky. Honestly, I'm a California kid. I grew up in California. I didn't know too much about the Browns. I knew they had Joe Thomas when I got there. I knew about Jim Brown and some of those older players, but I didn't know too much. And I got put in a line with, 3 All-Pros with Joe Thomas, Alex Mack. Mitch eventually got an All-Pro in Kansas City. John Greco, probably, one of my bigger mentors as well. And those guys were so professional and so, it was such a good room to be in that, I would expect myself to be successful somewhere else, but I give a lot of credit to those guys getting my career off on the right foot.
We'll end it on this because Gerard kind of alluded to this early, but you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot in your locker room. You've seen a lot of the opposition. You know what it takes, obviously, for a team to do something special. When you look out here at this team, do you feel like this team has what it takes, and it's going to be on you guys, right, to just go out there, put in the work, knock on wood, stay healthy, and execute?
Yeah, and it's a long way away, but I think it starts with the work, and it starts with just trying to get better every single day. But we have the right guys, we have the right coaches. It's on us. We got to perform. We got to do our best, and it takes a lot. But I'm happy with the guys we have.
Can't wait to see it unfold when we open the season at home against the Bengals. Then you get to go to Pittsburgh Monday night, so it's all going to be right there, right out of the gate. The great Joel Bitonio, thanks so much for the time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.